Hi, this is Bay here. This is a video for 0.40 PO for POE2. I'm not going to show you anything. This is just, but I'm just going to run something in the background so you don't have to look at nothing, right? I'm not going to look at the patch notes, mainly because the patch notes don't really tell you that much. 2, patch notes are not fully complete. We don't know what it will be at leak start. And 3, GG tends to conceal stuff, so even if you read the patch notes, it's not like you're going to know everything there is to know about the patch. So, couple of stuff. I think I'm probably gonna do a video call with Mason, and then we're just gonna discuss some stuff about the league start, just off the cuff, right? And then hopefully that will benefit you guys. This is just going to be a brief video about what I intend to play and what I think is reasonably strong and where I think the patch is going to go towards, right? So first and foremost, GG is showing that they are not interested in maintaining a juicer meta. They want to have what we call meaningful gameplay, not just be a campaign thing and also be a end game thing. So I think what you have to understand is that the end game that we're going to look at is going to be considerably different. Hopefully, alright. I'm pretty sure everyone's going to find some way of juicing their maps and find some gameplay mechanic to actually juice their stuff, or GG has, sometimes they overdo it and then the maps are like really sparse and people cry and then GG kind of caves in. But I think what will happen is that when we go into maps, you notice that the density is going to be a lot less, and so a lot less, but then again, drops should be correspondingly more rewarding. So killing rares should be corresponding more rewarding. Rares should be harder to kill, that sort of thing. Maybe map bosses will actually give you better loot. So I think the strategies for what you do and what a strong build is going to kind of change as a result. You don't really need to focus on stuff that does like full screen wide proliferation, wipe everything in one go, and maybe you don't have to do that. That's my hypothesis, yeah. Next, what is a strong ascendancy? I really don't know. I think if you look at the patch notes, let's talk about archetypes. I think archetypes are generally a much easier way of looking at the game, right? I think staffs are still good. So monk skills, they're still good. I think crossbow skills are still good as well. I think bows got pretty nerfed. You could run poison burst and toxic growth, but at the same time I want you to know that skill scaling is generally kind of meh unless you have items. And this is just my opinion, okay? And also I think that build is heavily dependent on your accessibility to two things. So when you're leveling before you hit remotely close to end game, you're pretty much going to rely on things like Plague Finger. So pretty sure Plague Finger prices are going to go to the 1 div range within like the first day, which means that if you're gutting to play something that scales around Plague Finger, you're kind of screwed. So that's one. 2, the next thing it scales into after the Plague Finger is likely to be Voltaxic, so Voltaxic Rift, which means and those generally won't be in demand. So what will happen is, if you really want to meta game what the juices will be playing, you can actually just buy out Voltaxics early and just hold them, is my opinion. It's not nice, but whatever, it is whatever. But yeah, I think most people will just be relying on Plague Finger until they get to the Voltaxic part. I think Fub will probably scale Voltaxic, is my opinion. But I also, at the same time, I kind of feel kind of meh. So like, I think Poison Burst is nice, but I don't think it will be a good build, in my opinion. Like, what sucks about it is the single target, and Toxic Growth is great, but it got nerfed. So kind of meh, kind of iffy. Anyway, I'm gonna tell you what my league starter will be. So my league starter is going to likely be with Pathfinder. No surprises there, mostly because if you look at, I'm going to show you my character selection, okay? I want you to see how many Pathfinders I have here. Okay, so ever since POE2 started, about 40% of my total played ascendancies are Pathfinders, right? Like, look at this: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 out of maybe like 10 characters. Yeah, so about 50% of my classes are Pathfinder. I think at this point you can say I'm a Pathfinder main. And I really like the patch notes. I really like, sorry, not patch notes. I really like 0.40's update for Pathfinder. There are some interesting gearing mechanics you can run, but the other thing I like is the flexibility. So I've always tried to go for a build that has flexibility around it, or rather ascendancy that gives me flexibility. So think about it this way. Pathfinder no longer has to start at its start point. So you can actually go to a warrior, you can go to sorcerers, which means, for example, you can run a Pathfinder base and then move into druid skills if you really want it. You could run a Pathfinder and run into constructing surrounded tech if you really want it, which is on the warrior duelist side. There are many things you can do with Pathfinder. And the other thing that I find interesting as well is so with the change to the ascendancy, right? So let me check. So with the change to the ascendancy, you can change all your travel nodes to have extra options, right? And one of the extra options is 5% increased global defenses, and that is actually kind of broken. I wouldn't say it's kind of broken to say, it's kind of broken in the sense that it provides you an interesting trade-off that no one has available, right? And that's the sort of thing I really like. Those are the sort of things that, I mean, for me, are really big, right? I always try to look for trade-offs that no one else wants to deal with, right? So these are the trade-offs that like I enjoy the most. And what I will probably try to do is this. I'm gonna just replace all the suffixes on my gear with stats and res. I'll probably keep res anyway, but I'll replace it with stats. And then scale global defenses, which is prefixes, through pathing nodes. And then I can probably have access to more unique options, scale damage in a different way. I think that's generally what I want to gun for. I don't have a concrete idea about this because it's heavily dependent on the uniques I get or I have access to. For example, like I think the best item with this setup is actually an Extra Menace, because the Extra Menace is going to basically take off suffix pressure of 120 int and dex, because those are your priorities, right? It's going to take up suffix pressure 120 int and dex. It's also going to stop you having to require to have like affixes for your like little gems and all that. So you can, like, for example, not affixes with gems. So think about it this way, like if you want to, let's say if you wanted to run a ES evasion setup, but you also want to do strength skills, the amount of stat requirement you needed from your passive tree was just too insane. But with this setup, you just run an Astra, you turn all your travel nodes into defense nodes, you still stack ES and evasion, and then you just do like warrior skills. You can actually do two-handed and stuff, right? So Pathfinder really gives you a lot more flexibility in what you can play, right? The possibilities are kind of endless here. And that's the reason why I want to start Pathfinder. The other reason I want to start Pathfinder is I have a pretty decent start idea from SSF Plus League, and that is to actually run up here and get Hollow Palm early. So Hollow Palm, the top end of Hollow Palm has gotten nerfed, right? So Hollow Palm, what they did was they made it so that you got, you only get 1% more attack speed with every 75 evasion instead of 25. And as a result of that, the amount of attack speed, increased attack speed you get, or more attack speed you get, has been severely gimped, right? Which means at the very late game, Hollow Palm is just generally weaker, but they increased the base attack time. So Hollow Palm went from 1.4 to 1.65, which means like early on into axe and leveling, Hollow Palm is really good in terms of like its ability to put out damage. And you don't need any weapons. You don't need to actually update your weapons. You can just save your currency. So that's generally what I want to do. I will do a quarterstaff start. Unfortunately, you won't have a lot of percentage damage nodes, so your first couple of levels until Geoneer is going to be a bit rough. It's only under Geoneer you get the Hollow Palm technique, and then maybe some of these percentage damage nodes. But by the time you reach Act 2, you will be zooming, right? So that's kind of my play. I will probably path to down here to get just free damage early, the only damage losses you have early, and then eventually unspec out of here, get hollow palm, and then respec into here down the road. Get these as well, like attack damage nodes, generic ones. And then I should be cruising to like egg 3 or 4. My expectation is that I eventually go into Stormwave with Fissure by about Act 4, I believe. Or I think start of Act 4. Is it? I can't remember. No. I think earlier, sorry. Stormwave is a bit earlier than that. Maybe end of Act 3. So do Stormwave. So initially it will be Locust. It will be Locust and get Glacial Cascade, then Locust into Ice Strike. And then Bells, Locust, Ice Strike, and then eventually Stormwave, Locust with no Bell. I think that's generally the play. Or Stormwave, Locust. I'm not sure if you can do Bell. Anyways, Stormwave, Locust, yeah. So I think that's just generally the play with Hollow Palm. And then once you hit like your second ascendancy, right, and you can start off, okay, even your first ascendancy. Once you hit your first ascendancy, and you can start from a completely different location, you can start considering, what if I want to play something else? So let's say I hit the first ascendancy, I might want to consider like pathing from here to the crossbows, right? That's a possibility. The other as well is start from here and then do druid skills, because that's also another possibility, right? So everything, there's a lot of different options on the table. If, for example, I want to continue with Stormwave, I go for the mobility nodes, so it allows me to press Stormwave while moving, and that should give me really good clear, right? Because all I need is a Pulse Circuit, and basically I should be Herald of Ice blasting through maps. I will swap out the Hollow Palm for like a Rail Staff when that happens, but yeah. So these are the options I have on the table. I don't want to start crossbows and I don't want to start bows for the reason that I think Fub is going to start bows. So your bows are always going to be in demand. You're going to compete with Fubbers, and I honestly don't want to do that. They have more time than you, and they have less life than you. So they will out-farm you. And I do not want to compete with them for gear. Second is crossbows. I'm pretty sure Rue's going to start crossbows. Maybe he'll start Druid. I don't know. I feel like whenever Rue starts with something he's not familiar with, he has a very painful experience. Like last patch, he did Pathfinder and tried to do Acid Floss, and it was pretty bad. I think he's going to start crossbows because it's what he's comfortable with. Yeah, he generally, I think it's not ideal for him to start something that he's not familiar with. So yeah, crossbows it is for him. So if that's the way it goes, I wouldn't touch crossbows because his viewers are going to drive demand for crossbows up. That sort of thing. So yeah, so quarterstaffs into Stormwave. If I see that Druid skills have potential, I will drop this side of the tree and start pathing the Druid. Priority, I think, is to get an Astromenace or anything that just gives you stats, really. Anything that gives you early stats is going to be good. So I'll look out for all these things. And yeah, that's pretty much it. I'll try to arrange a Discord call with Mason, and we'll, just cover a bit of what our league styles will be and what our theories are and what we plan to do. I think in general, like for us, POE, for both Mason and I, okay, for POE2 is like this. For the first week, we play trade, and then we kind of figure out that the game is kind of easy. Like you really, by the end of first week, you should pretty much do all the pinnacle content. And really much all everyone does at that point after that is just to farm for divs per hour kind of thing, and it kind of feels like shit. Like I don't like that kind of gameplay, right? So once we hit that point and we go like, okay, well the game's pretty, the game's pretty easy. Let's do SSF. So that's by week 2 we then jump into SSF and then try something else. We will play probably the strongest strategy we think is available for this particular patch in SSF. Yeah. Yeah, and that's pretty much it. Yeah, that's all. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. See you guys. I'm out. Bye.